Hello, everybody, and welcome to Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. I'm your host, BMR. Joining me, the lovely Krista from the Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast today. As always, subscribe to the Blondes, the Booze, the Paranormal Podcast. They are on Thursdays and Fridays at 9 in the East. Got a great guest, Mike Bleuler from Mississippi. Fascinating encounter. We'll bring him up shortly. If this is your first time here, please subscribe, give a thumbs up, share us out, and hit that alert bell. Please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube, Texas Front Porch on YouTube, and of course, the Blondes, the Booze, Paranormal Podcast. You can find us on iHeartRadio, Odyssey Radio, wherever podcasts are found, including Spreaker. You can also find us on KPNL Radio. Thanks to the lovely Selene out in Oregon for that. Find us on Facebook at Texas Front Porch. Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. Cryptid Encounters at Gmail. There's Texas email. Mine's Beyond BMR. If you have any encounter stories you want to share, send them on in. Don't forget, subscribe to the channels. Share us out. The super chat is open. If you care to donate, you like what we have to offer, the super chat is, of course, open. You can also check our about pages for all scheduled events and times. We do more than just live shows. We have cool videos and other things throughout the week. I am going to cut the music here, and it's, of course, we're streaming on both platforms. In fact, we're streaming on Bigfoot Michigan Rob channel, Texas channel, and of course the Blondes and Booze channel. So show everybody some love, like, thumbs up, leave a comment. Mondays is Texas Front Porch at 9 o'clock in the East. Tuesdays, Van Buren Variety comes on at 8 o'clock in the East. Then I come back Beyond the BMR. That's right, 9 o'clock in the East on Tuesdays. Jason McLean does something called Mysterious Library at Untold Radio AM. You can find him at 10 in the East. And of course, we come back with Jason McLean questions, everything at 9 in the East Wednesdays. Thursdays is Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. We come on right now, 1 o'clock in the East. Friday, again, you need some, yes. Then Friday, Thursday night tonight, the Blondes, the Booze Paranormal Podcast, 9 in the East. You get some more woo, you get some booze mixed in on Fridays, 9 in the East. And don't forget on Saturday, Texas' new video, his new elaborate infamous minds with Danielle Diva. They come on 3 and they usually talk about serial killers and true crime for those enthusiasts. And of course, Saturdays, Jessica Jones, Spaced Out Radio, 10 in the East. Danielle Diva follows her up at 11 in the East. Please show them some love out there for that as well. And again, subscribe to the channels across the boards. I appreciate each and every single one of you for coming in. We're going to have a fantastic show. I am going to bring up the lovely Krista here. And there she is. Hey, Krista, what's going on?
I'm good. It's Thursday. It's a good day today.
Yeah, Thursday is a good day. Thursday is a good day. We do the show in the afternoon here. Then I get to get back out and do what I've been doing, working in the backyard. And, it was funny. I went out today and did my, I usually do about a 2-mile walk in the morning. And everybody knows I had a groundhog problem.
Right.
And I haven't seen the guy in about 5 days. But it's funny. Where I live, Krista, we must be getting infested with groundhogs. I was doing my walk down along the creek. And lo and behold, what do I see? Not 1, not 2, not 3. Not 4, but 5 groundhogs sunning themselves in the creek down by the wood line.
Oh, wow.
So, and I've never seen this in all the years I've lived here. I've had the one in the backyard. Hopefully he's gone. But they're starting to invade my area. And hey, I'm one with Mother Nature. I love wildlife, but just don't come in my backyard. Don't come in my backyard. Well, like I told
you the other night, it could be worse. You could have a skunk problem.
Yeah, you did tell me that, and I'd much rather have the little woodchuck roaming about.
Right.
I would much rather have that, of course, but but I can't complain. I've been here. I always talk about something about me personally to start a show. I've had the power outages, the internet losses. I had a muskrat 2 years ago, which was it took me 2 months to find the guy and finally get rid of him.
Right.
But it happened, and but we got a great guest. We got Mike Bleuler, from his Mississippi.
Yep.
He's had a fantastic encounter. In fact, I see Susie B out in the chat. Susie turned me on to this guy. She said, "Hey, Rob, I got to tell you something. This guy had an encounter very similar to yours." So it was on Sasquatch, Ontario. I watched it, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this guy knows what it felt like to have something metamorphose." We'll get into that a little bit later in the show, and I'm going to bring up Mike. Mike, you ready backstage? Here we go. Shaking his head. Hey, Mike, welcome to the show.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, guys. So you said you had a groundhog problem, and
yes,
about skunks. Down south, we have armadillo problems.
Oh no. Well, let me ask you this, Mike. Do they tear up gardens?
They uproot anything that has a root system, or if you have an ant bed in your yard, they will eat all the ants, but they make sure they dig a nice 1.5 foot hole for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that either.
You were talking about you're from Mississippi, and I told you backstage I have family down there, and when I go down there, what freaks me out about Mississippi is the fire ants.
Yeah.
My stepson stepped in one, and oh my gosh, they were like all over him.
Yep.
Funny story about the fire ants. This is about 10 years ago. I was in Myrtle Beach. Buddy of mine had a lake house that connected to the ocean in his whole backyard. I never realized that, the grass, at least in South Carolina, very tough and coarse. If you like to walk barefoot, you probably want to wear some sandals or some shoes because it's not comfortable on the bottom of your foot. So my one buddy, don't know why he did this, because it was a big get together for a bunch of friends and we were going to hang out and do, adult stuff. So he brings his 2-year-old. His 2-year-old is walking barefoot in my friend's backyard. His son stepped into a fire ant pile or mound. And you guys, the fire ants immediately went from his ankles all the way up to his knees, literally covered, bit the hell out of him, had to take him literally to the hospital. We had to call, the ambulance because this kid was crying like a kid had never cried before. They bit him, came back, they took care of it. His leg was swollen. He ended up getting an allergic reaction. And so their little vacation to Carolina was cut short because they had to get him on the plane and get back home to see his normal doctor.
Yeah.
Something I would not want to encounter.
I'm glad Missouri does not have them.
I'll tell you what I do, like in the really bad in springtime, you'll get mounds all over your yard. What I do is I just take some charcoal lighter and go to each mound and light every one of them.
There you go. What do people with like livestock, horses and cattle and stuff do? Do they not bother livestock with the mounds, or?
If to professionally get rid of them, you can go to like Home Depot, or you can go to place like that, and you can buy the little pellets. You just put it on top of the ant bed, and they eat it, and they take it down to the queen, and once the queen is dead, the pile's gone.
Gotcha. I was just curious about that. I didn't mean to bring up fire ants and talk about fire ants.
Yeah, it's always good to start the show because I don't want to because Mike and I have had a very similar encounter. I don't want to get into that just to start the show because it is the meat of the show, and frankly, I want more people to come in and chat so everybody can hear this amazing story. So, Mike, why don't you walk us through a little bit of your background and prior to your encounter, what maybe you might have come across in this journey?
Okay, my name is Mike Bleuler. I'm from Biloxi, Mississippi. That's South Mississippi. I'm one in the Gulf of Mexico. I can be in 10 minutes swimming in the Gulf, but I grew up down in the South. My mother's side of the family, she is from the Midwest. She's from Illinois. Let's see. I did 13 and a half years in the U.S. Army. I was with the 101st Airborne. I did 4 tours in Iraqi freedom. I have one daughter. She is a registered nurse. She's 27 years old. Let's see. I'm pretty much a simple guy. You know, I got to see the world because of the Army. And, you know, I ended up getting hurt in the Army. You know, a buddy of mine stepped on an IED. Good job. I knew Mike from Long
Yeah,
Island.
Mike is an awesome guy. Long Island Bigfoot, if you have not subscribed, he's got some fascinating stuff, over 20,000 subscribers strong. And if you want a true blue researcher, boots on the ground, Mike, Long Island Bigfoot, the name of the channel, go check him out. Thank you so much for that, Mike.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Mike has been a solid dude. He's been helping me get subscribers and stuff like that. But anyway, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, and your channel is what is it? I got it in this description. Everybody, is there a Red Creek Mafia?
Red Creek Mafia. That's the only Red Creek Mafia on YouTube, and then 777. That's biblical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, I got to see the world. You know, I've seen the whole Europe. I've seen some of the Orient. I've seen just about the whole Middle East. Lived out on the West Coast for a little bit, and not very long, about a year or so. I lived in right out of San Diego. And you know, once I got out the Army, I didn't know that 16 years later I was going to be hunting one day and see these creatures.
Wow. Were you always a believer?
It wasn't, you know, it just wasn't on my radar. I didn't believe it, but it's like I didn't believe it, but I believed it, but I didn't believe it. I thought that was a problem out in the Northwest, you know.
Right. Yep.
Never.
So let me ask you, in where you live in Mississippi now, where you live, are you in the forest, or I'm not familiar with the landscape or the terrain of Mississippi. When I think Mississippi, I think the Mississippi River. I think muddy backwoods, you know, probably some forests around, but I also think of it as being more swampy.
Yes and no. If you're on the Mississippi River, it could get pretty ugly. We do have a bunch of swamp systems and stuff like that, but where I was hunting was more pine trees and more hills, really hilly terrain, not wet where I was at all. I was on high ground. I can go ahead and, I know you're probably waiting for people to get in your chat, but before I always
no. You do what you want. I mean, you're the guest, so you can roll in. We don't have to wait. We already got 40 some odd people in chat, so we're good. Whenever you feel comfortable, I just figure you give us some background and we can get rolling.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do.
Okay. Anytime I tell my encounter, I always like to paint a picture of what I was doing that day, stuff like that. So, Mississippi, I'm an avid. I love to fish and I love to hunt. You know, it was December the 16th of 2020 when this happened to me. I'm a steel hunter. In Mississippi, they have 2 dog seasons. And what I mean by dog seasons, they actually use dog to hunt deer. They use, it kind of looks like a beagle, but it's a little bit bigger. It's an American foxhound, but down here they call them walkers. What they do is they will circle off an area and they'll drive dogs through and push the deer out, and people shoot them. I'm not into that at all. I think it's disgusting. I think, and they shoot anything. You know, they don't shoot legal deer. They shoot anything that's brown. They shoot it. It's very disgusting. I don't like it. Half of the time they're out there drunk. You know, it's very dangerous. I'm sure people get shot doing that. When that season rolls through, I can't hunt none of my areas because that's being done. So what I usually do is I go 2 counties up to a wildlife management area. You know, in a wildlife management area, you have to go by the rules. It's still hunting only. The game wardens take care of it very well. It's very strict. If you go in there, you're getting checked. You know, if you have dogs or anything like that, you're done. If you're a felon and you have a firearm, you're done. You know, it's really strict in there. But I used to go up there once a year just to get away from all the dog hunting. And the name of the wildlife management area was called Leaf River Management Area. Okay. And there was this place in there. It was right across from the game warden station. It was a huge ryegrass field. It was probably, Rob, about 200 yards wide and about 1,000 yards long. Just ryegrass, it almost as far as the eye can see. Well, everybody hunted on, you know, anybody that came in there would hunt directly on that field. And deer in Mississippi are very, very skittish because of the hunting pressure. Most of them they're nocturnal. They won't come on that field until after dark because they know there's nobody in the woods, you know, after dark. So this field had power lines running adjacent to it, north and south. Mm-hmm. And what I used to do is I used to get behind that ryegrass field on the power lines. There was a little place cut out in there. It kind of looked like a triangle. So I used to always call it the wedge. And there was this perfect tree in there. I used to climb it every year. And I had a lot of success there because right before dark, I would catch the deer slipping across the power lines, waiting to get on that field, you know, at dark. And I always had a lot of luck. It was kind of like an ambush. And I had a lot of luck in there, you know. I've killed a lot of nice deer in there. So it was a normal day, man. I shot up there. This time of the year, it's getting pitch black at like 5:30. Yeah, pitch black where you can't see anymore. I always get up my tree super early, you know, like 1 o'clock, you know, just to calm the woods down, let my smell get out of the area because deer cannot see they can see okay, but they rely on their nose for everything. Yeah, I would always, I had the perfect wind that day. I had a dead north wind that was shooting me back towards the ryegrass field, but where they was coming out, you know, I wasn't, my scent wasn't blowing to them. It was just perfect. So I got up my tree 1 o'clock, you know, I'm sitting there and I had no action. And it was like very strange to me because, you know, I always at least saw something, you know, like a little, something I'm not going to shoot, like a doe or a little yearling or something.
Yeah.
It was just strange, you know, not a squirrel in the tree, maybe a couple birds, but that was it. It was very, very, very quiet. Mm-hmm. It was just very strange to me. I was like, you know, I was pretty upset because, you know, I'm thinking, God, I drove all the way up here and, you know, I didn't know why everything was quiet. I know why now. So it gets to be about 4:15, 4:20, and I start getting some action behind me. I start hearing something. Hold on. I got to tell your audience, I'm facing west, okay?
Okay.
I'm facing dead west. Something is behind me coming out of the east. And it sounds heavy, whatever it is. And it's not like storming walking through. It's like, you know, it's easing through there, but it sounds heavy because I can hear like limbs popping. Whatever it was, it had a lot of weight to it. So I'm thinking it's probably a big hog coming, you know, because that place has got a lot of hogs too. I'm like, oh my God, I hope this is a big hog. Yeah, I'll kill a big hog. Hell yeah. In the woods in Mississippi, that's another thing I got to tell your guests. The woods in Mississippi is not like it is out in the Midwest. It's super thick. It is like gallberry.
Yeah, I had asked you earlier about the terrain because I think Mississippi, unlike like Michigan, I think just hot and humid and just a lot of vegetation and growth. Is that pretty close? Yeah,
a lot of gallberry bushes, a lot of briars. Just really, it gets really, really nasty in there.
Okay.
It gets so bad that like every other year the state comes in and they will do prescribed burns just to kind of knock it down a little bit.
Wow.
All right.
So so this thing, you know, it's coming behind me, and then it shoots kind of to my right a little bit, and it's acting like it's going to come out to the power lines. The power lines is cut. They cut the power. That's the only place where I really had any sight was on the power lines looking north and south. it gets on the side of me, I want to say probably 30 or 40 yards, and it stops. And all of a sudden I start hearing breathing, like almost like labored breathing, like real gurgly, like congestion, like it sounded like it was sick.
So when you hear this breathing, again, for those who might have missed, how close, like if you had to make a distance, like how close could you feel this breathing? 20 feet, 30 feet, 50 yards, whatever.
About 30 yards.
Okay. Wow. So you can hear breathing from 30 yards. So that's
90.
right there. That tells me something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I'm trying to look for it, but whatever it is, it's in that vegetation, and I'm on top of it, but I'm 30 foot up a tree, and I'm looking down at it, but it's so thick I can't see what it is. I can't even see movement. And then it just stops. And I'm like, 5 minutes later after it stopped, I'm thinking, my God, was this something that got shot and it was its lungs full of blood or something? I didn't hear nothing. I didn't hear a shot, what's going on here? Did it slip out? Did I just not hear it leave? This, that, and the other. I had a million things going on in my mind. So I just finally gave up on it. I'm like, oh, well, that was weird.
Yeah.
So it gets to be right at about 4:30, 4:35-ish. And now I'm fighting the sun. Okay. The sun is now on top of the trees. It's not setting, but it's about to. I don't know what happened there. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Don't worry about it. It happens. We have glitches in the matrix, as they say.
Yeah. So I'm fighting the sun, and it's that time of the day. I got to pull my hat down like this just to see what's out there.
Sure.
And I'm decked out, guys. I got a hat on. I've got face mask. I'm not skylined or anything like that. I've learned that a long time ago. At one point, I'm fighting the sun, and I catch something in my right peripheral on the power lines, on the north side of the power lines, probably about 150 yards away. It's something, and it's on all fours. So I got my gun ready just to see what it was. So I looked in my scope, and before I looked at my scope, I thought it was a bear. To be honest with you, I thought it was a little black bear because we do have black bears in Mississippi. It's not a very heavy abundance, but I've picked them up on trail cam before. I know they're here. That's what I thought it was. So I got my gun ready, and I wasn't going to shoot it. I just wanted to look at it through the scope. So I got my scope adjusted, and I'm looking at this thing. And by the time I got it back in the scope, this thing is now sitting down, facing west on the power lines, just like I am. Got his knees up and everything. And I thought that's when I kind of flipped out a little bit because I'm like, what is this? It can't, how I would picture a bear sitting down, it made absolutely no sense. I had is this somebody playing a trick on me? But this is a very remote area. People would have to go through hell to play a joke on me. This is remote. This is out in the middle of nowhere. Okay. There's nobody out here. This place has one way in and one way out, and I see nobody coming in at all. It made absolutely no sense. So I panned down on this thing, and the first thing I noticed was the hair on the back. The hair on the back was hair. It wasn't like the double coat of like a dog or double coat of what a bear would have. It was hair. It was human hair, like Nikki Sixx, Motley Crue.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And
what was your really quick? What was the image you had here? You seen everything, but you just seen the backside. What was that again?
I can only see the back.
Okay.
I could see the top of his head. His back, the hair just seemed long, man. It seemed like it could have been 12 inches long. Okay. It was long hair on his back, but it was hair. It was not fur. It was like hair, and you can see through the hair on some parts, and you can see the ashy gray skin.
Okay.
And I panned up on the back of its head, and the head was completely different than the back. It was long hair on the head. It was like short and spiky. It looked just like a gorilla from the back. Had a little bit of the conical shape that everybody talks about. people say it goes to the point like a football, but it wasn't that pronounced. But it was there. It was conical shaped. So I'm looking at it, I'm freaking out, and all of a sudden this thing like turned its head to the left just a little bit, and that was scary too. I seen like a piece of the eye, and it was the black. The eye was solid black. The face, the side of the face was pronounced black. It was his later on in the encounter. I'll let you know the face was so black that it looked like he actually took black paint and painted his face.
Wow.
It was that black. And, he turned his head, and I seen a piece of his eye, I seen a cheekbone, and I seen a piece of the nose. And then I'm still thinking pretty much bear at this. Sasquatch hasn't come to me. But I'm looking for the muzzle, and I don't see a muzzle. I just see a side of a nose, but it's like our nose, but it's just much bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, I freaked out, man. Just in pure desperation, I screamed at it. And, I just said, hey. But real loud, hey. When I did that, all in one motion, he popped up on the 2 feet like it was nobody's business.
Wow.
And when he popped on his 2 feet, he looked like a Brahma bull walking on 2 legs.
Mm-hmm.
He was easy 800, 1,000 pounds, maybe more. And, if you take a 400-pound, just regular man sitting down in the grass, in order to get up, he's going to have to roll over a little bit.
If he can get up.
If you're a 400-pound man, boy, yeah.
Wow.
He popped on the 2 feet like it was nobody's business. And then he starts walking in like this oval circle. He's scanning the trees. He's looking south, north, east, west. That's why I think I was there.
And again, Mike, what was the approximate distance at this point?
130, 150 yards, give or take.
And so you're 130, 150 yards, give or take. But it just goes to show you the immense size, because for those of us that are familiar with yards, 100 yards is a football field. For those that are familiar, let's just keep it at 100 yards. To see something that immense from that distance, because like me at 100 yards, I look like a dwarf, right? I mean, I look like a small person. And for what you're describing right now, that with 1,000 pounds, that had to have been immense, even from that distance.
Right.
He was very big. And the way he was walking, it was like he never, how we walk, we lock our leg all the way out, especially when we're just standing up. It was like he kept his knees bent the whole time he was walking.
How tall would you say he was?
I'll get to that, but he was 8 foot or he was 8 foot or better.
Wow.
I think. So he starts, looking everywhere, and there were a couple times he looked my way and he would stop and his eyes would get really big, but he wouldn't stay fixated on me. He would keep looking, and he would scoot one way and then scoot the other way.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a certain point where I think he basically looked at me. And just out of desperation, I'm still not knowing what I'm looking at. Mm-hmm. I'm not thinking Sasquatch. At this point, I'm thinking this is a monster. This is a demon of some sort. This is something. It just freaked me out. And I just waved at him. I don't know why I did it to this day. I waved at him. I said, I'm right here. When I did that, you see like the Patterson Gimlin footage, and you see the Freeman footage and stuff like that. They're always trying to walk away. They don't want to be seen. It was reverse. He walked straight to me.
Oh my gosh.
He walked straight to me. So he starts making his way towards me. This is where it gets crazy.
Yeah. So I got to imagine when it starts walking towards you and you see this immense beast, all of a sudden, now he sees you. He's walking toward, at least you're thinking in the back of your mind he is, and he's coming towards you. I think that I would be a little, I'd be a little scared.
Yeah.
I'd be a lot scared.
So he starts making his way towards me, and I grabbed my gun. I had a bolt action rifle, and I unbolted it just to make sure I had one in the magazine, because I knew for sure I was fixing to have to use it.
Wow.
I just unbolted it real quick. I seen that I had one in. I slammed it back shut, and that was probably 3 to 4 seconds, maybe 5 seconds max. And when I picked my head back up, he was straight in front of me from 150 yards away. Now you explain that.
Wow.
It took him no time.
So what do you think? I mean, did you see him come up on you that fast? Then, I mean, did you see the running or?
When he first started walking toward me, the way he was walking, a lot of people ask that question. The motion he was making, his arms are going out very long, and he was taking long strides. I want to say it looked almost like he was on a elliptical machine or like snow ski.
So, wow. That's got to be like an immense gait then. I mean, he's probably covering, you see him perhaps 8 feet tall, so the legs, however long they are. So you're probably one stride alone, because I've seen strides from foot to foot that are like 6 feet apart. Can you imagine if you had, let's say it's 5 feet. I mean, even though that's crazy, you're picking up a lot of ground.
Right.
Your fastest men, like in the NFL football, they do run like a 4.2 seconds in the 40-yard dash. And their gait is 3.5 feet for pro athletes. And that's moving for these athletes. For something like that is like, and like you say, probably just glided, probably effortlessly.
It's very paranormal, man. That's maybe the woo kicked it. I don't know. I have no idea. So he gets to me, and he's 30 yards away. Maybe closer than that. I want to say, 80, 90 foot away. And I'm looking at, I put him back in the scope, and it was just a big black blob. So I had to power my scope back down and get it back to the correct yardage. Now, this is where I'm looking at him, and I can see him good. I can see the eyes. The eyes his eyes was like looking into the abyss. His eyes was jet black, like shark eyes, but they weren't round. They had a little almond shape to them.
Oh, wow.
The nose was like ours, hooded, but it was much thicker. Like the bridge of the nose was a lot thicker. The space between the eyes, our eyes are a lot closer in. His eyes were out a lot further. I remember that.
I have to really quickly talking about the eyes. You said they were black, and then the nose. But what reminds me of, and I'm not going to talk about my encounter. A lot of people have heard it, but the one thing that struck me just now is when I had my encounter, those eyes, when I seen this thing, they had like opaque eyes, but it almost became paranormal, like some sort of demon, right? Because mine, you say the almond shape. I always describe mine as a diamond without the points, but it rolled back deep and dark black, just like what you're explaining.
And I've seen pictures of Bigfoot, like caught on camera at night and stuff. And it's like at night it almost seems like they have like, you can see the pupils and stuff. But I guess maybe that black is something protective for the daytime. No, it's very possible. But when I had him in a scope, I had a standoff with this guy for the best of 20 to 25 minutes. It was a long one.
Wow.
A lot of stuff happened in a short amount of time. A lot of stuff happened. There was a few times he would like crinkle up his face a certain way that scared me, and I would go to draw down on him. And when I would draw down on him, he would turn his head to the side like this, and he would give me the look like, "Don't you do not do that." Wow. That's why I think these things know what guns are too.
I was just going to ask you, do you feel like he knew what you had?
Yeah, I think he did, because that happened several times.
Yeah, I've heard that with others too, other encounters. Yeah.
The arms, the fingertips went past the knees a little bit, but like I said, he never locked all the way out his knee. It wasn't like he was like bent down. It just had a slight bend to his knees, but he was enormous. The same thing I seen on his back. The hair was on his chest, but he didn't have a whole lot of facial hair at all. In fact, it was like all this was bare. Every bit of this was bare. Now he had going up on his necks, and a lot of people think that these things do not have a neck. They do, but what it is, it looks like there's a head on the shoulders, and that's it. But what it is they have so much going on in their traps and their shoulders and stuff, it hides that. Because every time like I said, he would turn his head to the side. He wouldn't turn his body. He would just turn his head, and you have to have a neck to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I think it is too, Mike, is a lot of that's described like the conical head, and everyone says that they have no neck. But a lot of it is their shoulders are like so massive. Their
Mm-hmm.
head kind of seats down because their shoulders and their back kind of goes past the head. It gives the illusion that it don't have a neck because everything, especially something like that, you need there's definitely a neck. It's just masqueraded by the enormity of the upper body. Thank you, Anella.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Anyways, there was a point where he did like some kind of yawn. I don't know what it was,
Mm-hmm.
but it was really weird because when he yawned, his mouth opened up and all the wrinkles on his face and stuff, kind of straightened out. But his mouth was huge. That's when I got to see his teeth. He didn't like barrel his teeth at me. It was more like a yawn. And the teeth were square like ours, but it was much thicker. It looked like big square chiclets in his mouth. Basically, is what it looked like. That's what I tell everybody. Almost like horse teeth, but even bigger than that.
I've heard the same things. Absolutely.
Yeah. And the inside of the mouth, I seen his gums and stuff. His gums were like a dark purple too. There was a lot that went on, man. It's really hard to remember everything that happened. And a lot of it has come back to me too,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of stuff that I didn't remember, they say when you have a traumatic experience like that, you lose a lot of that and it comes
Mm-hmm.
back to you later.
Did you happen to write your encounter down with details and things like that? Because I hear a lot of people do that it helps them to, actually go in and remember the details.
No. After my encounter, I turned into a recluse for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even talk to family members. It was bad. I didn't go to work for over a month after that.
Wow.
Yeah,
I ended up
when
with a job over it.
Wow.
what fascinated me, Mike, about your encounters, I had kind of the same things happen to me. Now you took off a month from work. I was kind of a recluse. I owned a business. I didn't go to. I owned a bar, and I told my bar manager, I don't know when I'm coming back to work, and I didn't go to work for like 6 months. Now I checked in to make sure that I told them, hey, at least put the money in the bank at least, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be checking in on you. Now, of course, part of my encounter, there's something tragic happened, which also just was on top of what I went through, right? So I was really just a mess. I was a mess for half a year, and I feel you, brother. I feel you. Hey, Brown Door.
Mm-hmm.
So, all this is happening, but he's not going anywhere. This is what I'm thinking. He's not. Why isn't he going anywhere? Hasn't he had enough? Is this thing waiting for it to get dark so he can just come up here and kill me, shake me out, whatever? So, I had to make a decision, guys. The sun is now over the trees and it's fixing to set, and I'm fixing to be in the pitch black dark with whatever this is. So, he's not going anywhere. I have to make a decision. So I put the gun back up on him, and he didn't turn his head this time. He just looked at me like confused.
Mm-hmm.
And I put the crosshairs right between his eyes. Well, maybe up a little bit further on the forehead. And I exhaled and I went to squeeze off, man. And I got about halfway through the squeeze and I couldn't do it. I could not do it.
Mm-hmm.
He just looked so human in the face.
Well, yeah, and we get that a lot. We hear a lot about these. Yeah, it was you had in the scope, much like yourself, and it looks like a human. In fact, a great friend of mine, Sibylla Irwin, she's doing 2 renditions for me of my Bigfoot encounter when it was human looking, and then when it looked demonic looking. We're working on that, and Sibylla's great. She's been on the show, and we went through a bunch of her renditions of Bigfoot. We did she did the story behind each one. That was a fantastic show. She's working on a rendition for you, Mike. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I know it's a kind of I know the answer because I have the picture that I want to show everybody.
Yeah.
And you can walk us through this. Now I tell you what, well, let me find it really quick. Okay, here it is. Now this was by Sibylla Irwin, who's fantastic. So this is Mike's rendition explaining to Sibylla what it looked like. So here we go.
Yep.
Wow.
That's it. That's it. We worked on it. Now this is which was probably, I think, just kind of like a test. She has done a little bit more since then. She's done a little bit more with the eyebrow, with the brow ridge. But yeah, it took us a minute to draw that too. You know, I stayed on the phone with her for a long time. You know, just
Oh yeah, she's very intricate, very detailed. In fact, this doesn't even. This almost looks like a photo, does it not? To how good she is with it. Now
Yeah.
you can tell it's artwork, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just fantastic. The detail. I mean, look at the detail of the eyes. He explained the black
Yeah.
eyes. The nose. I mean, even the conical head. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and like we're talking about with the neck. No, do you see a neck? Nah, not really. But number one, it's covered in the hair, and you can see the outer side of the
Mm-hmm.
shoulders. So of course, it looks like it might not have a neck, but to do what it does, it has the vertebrae. We all know that.
I'm at this thing, and I've got a gun on it, and it's looking at me just like that, like almost like it trusted me. And I couldn't pull the trigger, guys. I could not pull the trigger.
Yeah, well, I don't think I mean, looking at this, Krista, would you pull a trigger? People in chat. I mean, it looks kind of like a person. It don't look like no ape.
It does look like a person. I don't know. I've never had that type of encounter. So,
Oh yeah,
I
I'm
don't
just saying.
know.
Yeah, seeing
But,
that, how
but
can you
it's
shoot
so
that?
human-like, as you said.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, she done a good job. And like I said, if you think this is good, this was kind of just a little practice sketch.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So
Wow.
she's so. Yeah, she told me I talked with Sibylla to do my rendition. She says, Rob, I hope you don't mind if it takes 3-4 months to do, because she really like on this look, every hair is like detail. You can see different. She just has a I can't speak more about her work.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's good. I'm supposed to give her a call sometime today too.
Yeah, let her know I plugged her, by the way. I'll be calling her shortly too.
Hey, I know.
But yeah,
I know this is off the subject a little bit, but I do like the story where you was at a show with her, I think, and you had to end up taking the money for her because she was
on. Oh, look, yes. I met Sibylla. I was in Alabama for the Alabama Bigfoot Conference. So my table and Texas table, Jason and Randy was with us, and Bob we were all there. So we're sitting, and we had our wares, our goods set up. So right across from us is this, petite woman. She has all these coffee cups, mugs, stickers, a whole assortment. So I introduced myself, and yeah, I'm Sibylla Irwins, and she was a speaker at the conference. So we hit it off right away. I told her my encounter story. Says, Rob, I got to do the rendition if you don't mind. And I'm like, yeah, hell no. I've had several people do it, but I don't even put them out to the public because they just didn't do it for me. So anyway, I wanted to look forward to her speech at the conference. So she disappears to go do it, and nobody was at her table. A lot of these people wanted to buy her stuff. So I'm like, I got to go help her out. So I get in back of her table. So I sold like $200 worth. So she's gone an hour and a half. I can't see her thing. I sold like $100 or $200 worth of her goods, and her cash to make change was locked. So I had to make change out of my pocket. And so I'm like, oh my God, I had to write down all this. So I was running out of my own personal money, but it all worked out good. And she was like thrilled to death. And she says, Rob, you're an awesome salesman. I can't sell that much in an hour. And I cranked out $200 for her. And she's just a delight. I had a great time. We became great friends after that and hung out with her later on in the evening with a bunch of us, me, Tex, so we had a hoot. And yeah, she's just such a sweetheart. I can't say enough things about Sibylla.
Yeah. All right, guys. So this is where it gets scary. This is the scary part of the encounter.
It's already scary. What are you talking about?
It does get scary. Well, we got to take in 8 minutes and 7 minutes. We got to take a break. Did you want to wait for the second half? Because I want you to be thorough. I hate to take a break right in the middle of it.
No, we can wait. We can wait.
Yeah, let's wait the 7-minute break so we can move. We can. Let me ask you this while we're waiting for the
There are two questions
the
also.
climax. Okay, I got a couple questions in chat.
Mhm.
Then we'll pull that up. Dark Woods asks, question for Mike: was the whole eye black?
Mr. Darkwoods had him on my show last night. No. Yes. The whole eye was black. The whole eye was black. It was like a great white shark's eyes. You know how it's solid black like that? Just not shaped like that. It had the almond shape to it.
Gotcha.
Okay, awesome. Now we've got one here from Lil Patty. Mike, did you see his lower body? She or he asked. She, I guess.
I did.
A new subscriber. Thank you, Lily.
The only thing I remember seeing was throughout all of this, not that I was looking, I don't remember seeing the feet, but I do remember seeing the legs. They weren't as hairy as like the chest and the back, but they were hairy. The hairiest thing, the longest hair was his forearms. He had long hair on the forearms, almost looked ghillie suit look, I want to say.
Okay, since we're into that, I can tell you about mine because it's kind of similar. Mine, my Sasquatch was probably 8 to 9 feet. I always say 9 feet because it was reddish brown hair, Mike. And when it lifted its arms, like it was covered, like the hair that you've seen was kind of how mine was too. But when it lifted its arms, the fringe underneath the arms just hung down. It kind of reminded me of those old West, how the guys wear with the fringe.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it was like, man, it was draped 3 feet. I mean, it was like almost resembled wings. I know it wasn't. That's how long the hair was. It was just long all over. And it was, like you said earlier, it was hair. It wasn't fur.
I think your guy was an older guy too.
Well, when I described what he looked like in the beginning of mine, Mike, it was he looked like an old dude with Down syndrome. Eyes were offset, wrinkled gray, just like you. The chest had no hair. It was just light gray skin, face light gray, kind of wrinkled, and the eyes were like this. Like, well, in the camera, I can't do it, but
Yeah.
like one, they drooped down, big old mouth, longer than your mouth. The mouth of my guy was extended to the ears. It was just like kind of nasty looking.
My guy had a big mouth on him. Maybe not pronounced like that, but when he opened up to do that yawn, you can stick a whole cantaloupe in his mouth.
Yeah, you know, I always describe mine as, hi Jim Christie. I always describe mine as a bowling ball.
Yeah,
that you could fit a bowling ball in it. It was so engaping.
Wow.
And then, of course, mine's transferred into what I always call a demon. I don't think it was a demon. And again, I'll tell you, exactly will be on Mike's show in a couple of weeks. I'm going to do my encounter story on Red Creek Mafia. Go subscribe on YouTube. He just started out his channel. He's got like 700 subs now, so he's on his way to 1,000.
Mhm.
A lot of good stuff.
I'm ready to be in the club.
Yeah, the 1,000 club is the hardest to get to. You're neck and neck with the Blondes and Booze here. We're trying to get the Blondes and Booze, everybody, to 1,000 subscribers. So everyone subscribe to the Blondes and Booze. And, of course, Mike at Red Creek Mafia. Both can be found
And
on
actually,
YouTube.
I just went and subscribed to Red Creek Mafia. So
Well, I got to subscribe.
Well, you know, I got a funny story, Mike. I met you on Twitter, and I'm like, who the hell is this? You know, I mean, your Twitter, I got like 1,000 people on Twitter.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, so I started talking to Mike, and then I subscribed. He goes, dude, I'm from Red Creek Mafia. Then I looked you up, then I subscribed you on YouTube. So I didn't know. Then I finally put two and two together. Then Susie B, who told me about you, and I went on Ontario Sasquatch, and I seen your encounter story on that. So it all just came together like, okay, now I know who this guy is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so.
what I find interesting about both of your encounters is, you know, you hear about them all the time, you know, they cross the road or, you know, something like that. But like both of you guys had like, you had nowhere to run. You know, you were both literally, Rob being in a boat and Mike, you know, you being in a tree, you know. So, I mean, there was nowhere to go. You know, those are pretty incredible stories to me that are like, wow.
And your poor little girlfriend at the time, she must have been really terrified.
Oh, yeah, she was terrified, all right. I mean, she didn't know what in the world. I mean, she fell off the boat, dude, and fell in the, and I'm like, and then I couldn't get her. I think she's going, why is he not getting me? Because I was paralyzed with fear. or paralyzed with what was sent to me, because this thing roared at me. And like I say, Mike, it roared at me, and the beautiful sky, the greens, the blues of the water, I saw a filter, everything turned black and white on me. Kind of like not, but it was all grainy. I felt like I was in slow motion, and I could not move at all. And this thing was just yelling. I could feel it hit me, and she fell off the boat. In fact, I took a step back. Then I was shaking my head. Then I finally got out of it. I got her in. Then we looked at shoreline. It's gone. We're petrified. I wheeled that boat around, and I broke all sorts of speeding laws. I went and created waves. I blew past fishermen 100 yards up, giving me the finger because you're not supposed to do that on the lake. I get it. But I did not care. I just wanted to get back and dock the boat. So mine was messed up.
True primal fear.
Yeah. That's what was going on. And I think that's a good way to take our break here. We're coming up on the 52-minute mark. Everybody, again, thanks for JoJo for subscribing to Mike, Red Creek Mafia. Please subscribe. We got to take a 5-minute break here. And we're going to be back with the climax, the conclusion of what happens next with Mr. Mike from Mississippi.
Yep.
Thank you to the super chats from Long Island Mike. Thank you from Anella. Love you guys. There's somebody else I wrote you guys. My memory's slipping. Mike and Anella, thanks for the super chats. Super chats open. We're taking a 5-minute break with Mike from Red Creek Mafia. Be back in 5 minutes.
4 minutes to go, folks. 4 minutes. Three minutes. We're almost there. Two-minute warning, guys. 2-minute warning. 1 minute. 1 minute.
Thank you, everybody, and welcome to Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. This is a fantastic show with Mike from Red Creek Mafia. Please go subscribe. Thank you once again to Anella and for Long Island Mike for your awesome super chats. It is awesome. We're streaming on, of course, Bigfoot Michigan Rob channel, Texas channel, the Front Porch, and of course the Blondes and Booze. Go give everybody a like and help us out and subscribe. If you're not, a lot of new people in here. Thank you for that. Mondays is Texas Front Porch. That takes place at 9 o'clock in the East on Mondays. Tuesday is Van Buren Variety, 8 o'clock in the East. Beyond BMR, 9 o'clock in the East. Jason McLean does something called Mysterious Library on Radio Untold. Thank you, Jeanette Angel, for the awesome super chat. Just popped up. Love you. So, yeah, Jason McLean, 9 in the East. Thursday is right back here. Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, and Krista, 1 o'clock in the East. Tonight, you can see Krista and Brandy, the Blondes, the Booze, the Paranormal Podcast, Thursday, 9 o'clock in the East. Check them out. If you want some woo mixed in with the booze, you get them back on Friday, 9 in the East. Go check that show out as well. Saturday, Tex, Danielle Diva, Infamous Minds, it's true crime, it's murder mysteries, unsolved crimes. Check them out. Please do. Fascinating show if you're into the true crime genre. Jessica Jones, Saturdays, Space Out Radio, 10 in the East. Daniel Diva, 11 in the East, Space Out Radio. Speaking of Space Out Radio, let's see. Today's the 11th. Only 8 more days. The Dave Scott Fan Party, his second annual fan party in Las Vegas, Nevada. That will be at the Golden Nugget Hotel. I know I've been promoting for the last couple months. I know 12 days. Hey, I know you got to save up. But if any of you people out there got a ton of money to blow, go check out Dave because he always puts on a good show in Las Vegas. Thanks for that. And I'm going to bring up Krista, and I'm going to bring up Mr. Mike. So, Mike, man, fantastic show. Thanks for popping on. And before we get started into the second half, why don't you let everybody know where we can find you, and we'll do it again at the end of the show, your social media and everything.
All right, guys. You can find me on YouTube. It's Red Creek Mafia 777. You can find me via Twitter. It's Red Creek Mafia 7, just 17. And you can find me also on Instagram. You can either find just regular me, Mike Bleuler, or I have Red Creek Mafia. I have a page on Instagram, and on Facebook, it's just Mike Bleuler.
Real quick, Mike, you had a question, and this kind of has to do with your channels. Wendy asked, what's the best first show to watch on your channel?
Definitely my very first show with Ron Moorhead.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
Ron Moorhead, man, such a fascinating guy. He's been on this show like 2 or 3 times. And I got to tell you, Mike, we'll get into it here in the second half. 25 years ago, well, back in his earlier years, when I was talking with Ron, he said, hey, Rob, if you would have came to me when I first started in this looking for Sasquatch, if you'd have mentioned the woo, I would have dismissed you and turned you away. But after another 40 years into it, he's been doing this a long time, folks.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, he wrote the book, The Quantum Bigfoot. He's a believer in the woo.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And I'm going to wait until the end of the show to ask you your beliefs, because I know that what you have to provide for us next with this climatic conclusion of your encounter there's a lot of things we all can question, right? Much like my encounter. So, Mike, if you would do us and take us on to part 2.
Absolutely. So, I couldn't squeeze off on this thing. I just couldn't do it. I thought that maybe I was killing some kind of people. This is some kind of tribe of people we don't know about. Maybe this is some kind of government experiment. Maybe I'm killing somebody's kid or somebody's dad. Humanity just kicked in is what happened. So, I just gave up. I just put my gun back on the side of the tree stand, and I stood up and I reached out to him and I yelled. I said, "What do you want?" When I did that, everything changed. Everything changed. He screamed. And when he screamed, it was, I hope you or nobody else has to see the way they do it, or at least the way he did it. It was like a draw it from the gut. And when he turned it loose, his whole face protruded out to the front of his face. And it looked like his face melted. It was like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like his eyes, his nose, his teeth, and his mouth just shot straight out and just looked like scrambled eggs almost. And then just sucked back to normal when he was done.
Wow.
Jeez, man.
It's like his face just distorted.
Mm-hmm.
And, I felt the heat off of it. I've seen a lot of stuff, Rob. I've had 4 tours in Iraq. I've seen the worst that life has to offer. Dead kids, dead dads out there from airstrikes.
Oh, terrible! I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but nothing. And I was scared the whole time I was out there. Trust me, I was afraid.
Oh yeah.
But
by the way, thank you so much for your service. I do appreciate that. I'm sure everybody else in chat does as well.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. But everything out there was scary, but nothing scared me as bad as that did.
Remind us again how close you were to him once you were down on the ground.
Probably 80 foot,
Wow.
27, 30 yards.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Yeah. And when he was done screaming, he went back down to all fours and shot straight across the power lines. Running away. It was super, super fast, but it didn't look orthodox the way he was running. The best way I describe it to people, you ever seen like a Great Dane run? It's real sloppy and lerpy, really dumb looking. It looked like that, but it was super fast.
Mm-hmm.
He gets on the other side of the power lines and he starts ripping up gallberry bushes by the roots and chunking them out in the middle of the power lines. And like every 15 seconds, he screams again. And every time he screams, even now he's on the other side of the power lines, I can feel it hitting my body. Like it's like it's like holding on to a jackhammer.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just rattles your whole insides. Every 15 seconds.
What do you think the screams were? Do you think it was to alert other Bigfoot in the area that there's an intruder, or that it was an intimidation towards you?
I don't know. I don't know I just know he was super pissed and he kept running and he was knocking trees down, and like not full grown 300-year-old pine trees, small trees. He was knocking them down. I mean, I could see like bits and pieces of him, moving around on the other side, but I couldn't see him that good anymore. But I noticed he's going further north, So I stood up in my tree. Now I got my rifle clutched, and I'm thinking he's going to kill me. This thing's going to kill me.
Mm-hmm.
He's still grunting, and he does. There's something that happened to me yesterday. It's going to like tie into it a little bit, but he was like, it almost sounded like he was talking, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I got to bring this up right quick. I know I'm going to be on your show doing my encounter, but it's not. This is everyone's heard it, except for maybe your audience next week, I guess. Bama, hey Bama, thanks for joining. She's a good friend of mine. She just put up a comment earlier about that. I seen something similar. I put it up a little earlier. So, Mike, I tell you what, when you talk to me, I'm getting chills right now because when you talk about like now my face, I'll explain mine in a second here. Bama talks about, you talk about the face melting and it kind of made like a 3D image, or that's what I got in my mind trying to put this in my head. When I had my encounter, dude, it was like it looked like a person in the beginning. Then what happened? I'm 90 feet away, 90 feet. That's so I can so detail with this. It looked from that human with Down syndrome. And then, as I mentioned, how about he had a big wide mouth, the jaw dropped about 6 to 8 inches. Okay. Mike, I don't, okay. Yeah. I thought I lost you. It dropped 6 to 8 inches. This whole mouth was just like Pac-Man. Remember the Pac-Man in the 80s?
Mm-hmm.
It looked like that. It had it had two incisors up top. I always explained it as like a oversized Doberman Pinscher or a German Shepherd teeth, canine. Two incisors on the bottom. But when it opens its mouth, now I mentioned it had the gray skin, wrinkled, but when it bellowed back, and he was getting ready to do something robust from his inner depths of his lungs, his inner being, lets out this roll. Now his eyes roll back black, the face gets taut. Now that person turned into what I always describe as a demon. It looked demonic. It looked like something from Africa, like a kabuki mask. I know you're friends with Kerry Arnold. He mentioned how his kind of looked like he was wearing kabuki mask. But my thing looked like a demon, a devil. And it yelled, it screamed, it roared all in unison. And I could feel this sonic boom race across the water because it was on the tree line outside the water's edge. Hits me square in the chest. I stumble back. As you mentioned earlier, you heard my story earlier. My girlfriend, 109 pounds, flips off the boat. But this thing took this metamorphosis of something that it's undescribable. And then, you know, I just could not get to right now. I can still see this so clearly that I still get goosebumps thinking about it. And now what you're telling me today is it's kind of the closest thing, because I've never heard anybody have an encounter like mine. Yours is probably the closest to what I've heard with that craziness in the face.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And even when he was, you know, in the middle of his screams, he was grunting. It was weird. It was like, I couldn't see him, but I could hear him back there. It was like, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He finally, but he's going further north. And there was a point where he shot back on my side, and it was so fast. It was like a black flash is all I seen. But he's back on my side, but he's north, like where I heard, like a little bit past where I heard the heavy breathing at first, but he keeps going north. And then, you know, I can hear him breaking stuff, and he's not really vocalizing that much anymore. But I can hear him back there, and he's just kind of fading off a little bit. So then I heard this distinct tree break, like fresh, like that snap, crackle, pop, like that, pow. And that was way off. You know, that was probably over 100 yards off. And he screamed again, but he sounded like he was further away. And I said, it's now or never. I come out of the tree. I left everything up in the tree, Rob. I left hundreds of dollars worth of hunting equipment up there. We're talking about $500 pair of binoculars.
Wow.
I had a Garmin. I had a probably close to $1,000 Garmin GPS that I left up there.
Yeah.
I left. I just, you know, my gun was on a sling. I slung it behind me, and I come down that tree. I made the power lines, and I started running for my life. And he must have known that I got out the tree, because he started lighting it up again. And I'm running down these power lines, and I'm probably 800 yards from my truck, give or take, 650. It's somewhere in there. I got a long way to go. And the sun has done set. You know, it's that time of the day where the sun just set, but you can still see pretty good, you know. I'm running down these power lines for my life. And I was a little bit bigger guy back then, so I was kind of out of shape. So a very fast run after 100 yards or so went to a very fast walk. So on this power line, I've hunted this power line my whole life. There's a point coming up, you know, in about 500 yards. Well, 400 yards. There's like this little plateau that comes across the power line. It's not very big, and it don't even go all the way across. It goes like halfway across. It's got like little pine saplings on it and stuff, like just some kind of weird growth.
Yeah.
But I know it very well. I always said this is the halfway point. Well, I seen it coming up, but it was still a good ways off. And I remember I couldn't hear him anymore, so I stopped and I listened. And then all of a sudden I heard something. Now I'm hearing something like 30 yards in the bushes on the side of me.
Wow.
And every time I would start walking, it would walk. When I would stop, it would stop. But you knew something was there because it would take like that extra step.
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard him back there again. I done got some distance on him. So he's back there. What is this on the side of me now?
Wow.
And whatever it was, man, I remember, every once in a while I get my wits about me again and I just start running. And this thing, you could hear it right on the side of me. And it just stayed close. I could actually see the bushes moving, but I could not see what it was. I would stop. It would stop. This continued, man. I finally see my plateau coming up. And the way the woods are shaped, whatever this is running on the side of me, it's going to have to reveal itself.
Mm-hmm.
I get to, I finally just had enough, and I get to the plateau and I cracked a shot in the air. And it was a 7mm Magnum, rather big gun for Mississippi. That's something they use, out in the Northwest for moose and elk. It's a big gun, and it's a very loud gun.
Mm-hmm.
I just cracked a shot in the air. When I did that, everything stopped. Everything stopped. I no longer heard him back there. I crested I got past the plateau. I no longer heard whatever it was following me. And I remember cresting a huge hill on this power line. And once I crested, I can see my truck, but it's still way down there. I can only see the roof of my truck. You couldn't see the whole body and the tires. And, I still had a ways to go. And when I seen my truck, I caught another gear I didn't know I had. And I got to my truck and I remember thinking, Mike, get in your truck. Do not stick around. You got lucky, this, that, and the other. So I get around to my truck and I stuck the key in the door to unlock it. And as soon as I stuck the key in the door, I heard one more scream, and it was way, way, way back there. And it was way, way, way different. It was more like what Carrie Arnold was talking about. It sounded like a baboon screech, like the screech of a baboon, and at the end was like a crack of a whip.
Wow.
I get in my truck and I made it, I'm still in the middle of the management area, and this road I came in on, has if you go down the road about 2 miles, it has a turnaround, like a cul-de-sac. Mm-hmm. And I used to always drive that and just come back through because the roads are bad on each side. Getting stuck. I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't passing back through there. I backed my truck up in the ditch and almost got stuck. And I got out of there. I'm flying through this management area. It's nothing but dirt roads. Every corner, the ass end of my truck is swinging around, fishtailing. Almost wrecked several times. I hit the blacktop. I'm going to, I just got a hunting truck, so I'll probably do a 100 mile an hour home. That's about all the truck would do. I got home, and I remember putting my gun on the bed, and I got in the shower. As cold as it would go, just full blast cold, and just laid there in the fetal position for like an hour. I remember getting up, just passing out on the couch, that adrenaline dump kind of sleep. And I remember waking up the next day, and I thought it was all a dream. I thought every bit of it was a dream. I thought I had a bad nightmare. I went back to my room, and I seen the gun on the bed, and I was like, wow, that really happened.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
You know what struck me about, if I pull anything out of this today, if I pull anything out of this today, Mike, I got to tell you something. First of all, once again, thank you for the service to our country You've seen some horrors that we're not going to get into that. I know you've seen horrors in the field for our, as a serviceman. But to say that despite what you've seen, having this is probably your ranks as your most heart wrenching encounter, right?
Yeah, it was bad, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to relive it.
Yeah. Wow. Well, we appreciate that you came on here to do that.
No doubt. So I had a few other things happen recently. So, that first, once that hunting season was over with, I live in a city. I live in a it's a little casino town I live in. But I have relatives that live out in the woods. And it was like, after that happened, like I said earlier, I couldn't talk to anybody for like 6 months.
Sure.
But once I started getting a little better, I would drive out to relatives that lived out in the country, and every time I seen the woods, it was like pouring cold water over you, man. It was.
Mm-hmm.
The following hunting season came up, and I couldn't go in the woods. I did a hunt a few times, but it was like in somebody's backyard, in a shooting house with somebody next to me, something like that. So this year comes up, okay. And I'm finally getting out in the woods again, this last September, scouting, scouting for deer sign, not looking for Bigfoot or nothing like that. And I started feeling better. I was putting trail cams out and stuff like that again.
Mm-hmm.
And I went hunting by myself a few times and nothing happened. Everything was cool. And I started getting cocky again, I started, thinking, oh, that happened to me. A once in a lifetime thing. It's, you got lucky and you seen one, which I don't consider lucky at all. I went hunting this year. I know there's not a whole lot of time left on the show, so I'm going to just kind of breeze through this just a little bit.
Yeah, walk yourself. You got some time. Walk yourself through it.
I
don't need you to rush. Go ahead.
I went to Pearl River County. It's two counties. It's 2 counties northwest of me. It's right on the Mississippi River. It's probably give or take 80 miles from where my encounter happened. So it's a little distance. But the terrain was different. I still like when I go hunting, I can't like hunt too far away from my truck. I used to be able to get miles and miles in the woods. I cannot. I still to this day I can't do that anymore.
Sure.
I was hunting a spot. It was very remote, like where my first encounter was at, but it was different terrain. It was more bottoms and swampy and stuff like that. I put some trail cams down and I was getting some good photos of, good pigs and good deer.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, yeah, I'm gonna bow hunt this. I use a crossbow because I have a bummed right shoulder. I can't really pull a compound bow back without my shoulder hurting, so I just use a crossbow. But I always carry a pistol with me. In Mississippi, if you're licensed to carry, you can carry that hunting. If it's as long as you don't use it to hunt with. Personal protection only. So I always carry a pistol with 3 clips, three magazines. Some people will get on to me for calling them clips. It's a magazine. And I was hunting in this bottom, same kind of situation though. I was always get up the tree really high and no action. Didn't have anything, no action, nothing. So it gets dark all the way on me, and I'm loading up, I'm getting my book bag ready to go, come back down the tree, and I hear a tree knock. Very, very, very close, 50 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And I get an answer 50 foot behind me.
Oh my gosh.
I'm educated now. I said,
right.
No, we're not doing this again.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said that again, I hear like a whistle. It sounded just like a human whistle, but a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I get an answer behind me. I'm like, no, I'm getting out of here. Nope, not doing it again. Not going to happen. I get my pistol ready. I put it on the side of my belt, and I come down that tree. And I'm in a bottom. It's a lot of dead leaves, a lot of sticks. And as soon as I put my foot on the ground, I just got like a little old lamp on top of my hat. I don't have a huge flashlight. As soon as my foot hits the ground and it makes that crunch in that bottom, the woods explodes. Now, I didn't get no visual through this encounter, but I know what it was. I had stuff just running everywhere. I had stuff running north, south, east, and west. Stuff running towards my truck. Heavy. Sounded bipedal to me. Some people think and it could have been. Because I cannot prove it was Bigfoot. But, I mean, come on.
Right.
I don't know pigs that beat on trees, okay?
Well, no.
I'm very close to my truck. I'm 150 yards in the woods. I'm basically down this huge hill. And I did something really, I'm going to tell your listeners, I did something very irresponsible. And it was just out of fear.
Yeah.
I'm coming out of this bottom, and I take a sharp left to start making this hill. And straight in front of me, something grunts very, very loud and just takes off running.
Yes.
And I emptied my whole magazine. I put another magazine up. I get halfway up the hill. No, I get to the top of the hill, just about to my truck. And same thing to my right, a very loud grunt, and something runs off. And I emptied the second magazine. Shot into nothing. Just out of fear. I get to my truck, and I just drove out of there. I didn't drive irresponsible this time, because if I would have got stuck there, I would have been screwed until the next morning. No doubt.
Yeah.
I drove out responsible. I got home, and I was just like, wow, that happened. That happened again. So yesterday, I went to a spot with a friend. We went arrowhead hunting yesterday. That's one of my things I like to do also.
Yeah.
It was a swampy area, and actually I'm gonna premiere this on my channel. And I have to edit it a little bit, but I'm gonna do it as a premiere. There was a point where we was in this bottom, and it was really hot, Rob. Real hot. A lot of the yellow flies, a lot of mosquitoes. I was wearing a thermocell. It was just way too much mosquitoes and stuff. Actually, when I got back to my truck, I ended up pulling 3 ticks off of my leg. There was something weird happened though. We heard something way off in the woods, and it didn't make any sense. It was kind of sounding like this. It sounded like, but it was way off. It was probably 100, at least 100 yards away, and we started walking in that direction, and just something took off. And I don't know if it was a pig, but I got footage of it. You can see it a little bit, but whatever it is, it looks like it might be on all fours.
Wow.
Yeah.
I got to look at it good. It was like real quiet, and it just sounded like.
Wow.
I've often heard too that tree knocks a lot of times isn't exactly like you would think. Like way in the beginning when I started doing this, a tree knock would be like a Bigfoot hitting a big log against a tree. And a lot of people say it's just a smacking of their mouth, of their lips, making that sound.
Like a
clack. Yes. There's a question I like to bring up from one of our newer subscriber, Cryptic Crystal. Thanks for subscribing. I can address this, but I'll get your thoughts, you two first. Do you believe it is to be awareness that you see and hear more? Some people say that you get marked. Thanks, Cryptid Crystal.
I know Crystal well. She's one of my people. She's she's from Donnie Moore's channel, Standing Goats Rescue. That's where I picked her up from.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
They say once you've seen one of these creatures that you get kind of marked, because I mean it does make sense. They have language. They have language, and I'm sure they gossip just like we do.
Yeah.
And Crystal, your thoughts really quick on that?
I 110% believe people are marked. You have your first encounter. They have a second one. It may not be in the Bigfoot realm. It might be something to do with UFOs or in the paranormal as well. I think now you are marked, and I think open to all of that.
I see one of them too. I seen one in Iraq. Sure
Wow.
did.
And that could have been the encounter that marked you. You don't, we don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, because I was told this. My encounter was 2018, and I was talking to Bob from Germany. His name is Bigfoot Bob from Germany. Now I think he's Bigfoot Bob from Las Vegas. But regardless, he told me that I was marked after my first encounter, and I'm like, "What do you mean? I'm novice to this, and you're freaking me out." And I talked to more and more people that once a Sasquatch, I mean, if you believe in the woo theory, if you believe in the telepathy, and they know where you are, they know what you're doing. There's several people that have said that my Sasquatch is trying to talk with me through telepathy. This is via Robin McCrae. We don't have enough time to get into that. A lot of people might have heard it, but my thing is this. I've always seen things as a kid growing up, but I always wondered. But you know what, Mike? After I had my encounter in 2018, I see a lot more things than I ever thought I would see. And I know what I see to be real. And it seems like I believe in that theory because and I was always open-minded, grant you, but now that I know that these creatures, beings, human hybrids, whatever verbiage you want to use, I know they exist, and my mind is now more open to it,
Yep.
And I try to project myself into situations like late at night. I started doing a little meditation just to kind of free the mind. And it's funny that ever since 2018, I'm more receptive to everything around me. So I do subscribe to that theory that once you see something, and it could be paranormal too, right, Chris? It could be ghosts, it could be that seeing the dead, it could be something walking in a cemetery, it could be something like a Bigfoot, it could be an alien, a UFO. And I've seen all these things, not an alien, I've seen a UFO as well. But yeah, I think that it does something to your mind. And if you concentrate on it, it opens you up to a vast rabbit hole.
Oh, absolutely, man. Where are you guys? I know it's getting close to the end. Where are you guys at with Dogman?
110% believe.
Krista, that's another show with Krista. She's a believer. I've never seen Dogman. Texas seen several. But again, I believe Dogman exists. Now, what do I think they are? I don't know what they are, to be honest with you. My guess is there's something supernatural about them because every time I talk to somebody about Dogman, it's just they get that feeling of dread. You don't get a feeling of dread when you see a Bigfoot. I mean, I kind of did, but mine's a different story. Dogman is always like they try to scare you, I think. They have this ability. I mean, they run up against your car. They look in your window. A lot of reports I've gotten is they have the ability to smile menacingly at you. What type of dog with a snout can smile? I mean, dogs can smile. I get it. I've seen on little puppies and stuff like that. But a dog, a menacing grin, and show the teeth. I think it's not 100% flesh and blood, though. I think there's something. I think it's from another realm myself, and I do believe Bigfoot can be from different realms.
Yeah,
we have so much to talk about. We can't get into all that, but I think that Bigfoot. I'll tell you my theory. Bigfoot is not just flesh and blood. It's flesh and blood with supernatural.
Yeah.
Abilities, so to speak. I think they can travel from time.
Yeah.
I think that they can, like Ron Morris says, they can convert matter to energy and teleport. I believe in portals. I believe the same thing with Dogman. Hell, with any cryptid, I think that they're not just on this planet, and I don't buy the ape theory. So that's me in a nutshell. And before I let you go, Mike, what's your theory?
My theory on Bigfoot. Well, the one that I seen.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's talk about yours that you've seen. Yeah.
Very high cheekbones. That said Native American, but the face itself said every bit caveman or Neanderthal looking in the face.
Okay. Yeah. And again, the one I saw looked like a human being, but then it kind of didn't after a while.
Yeah.
The scream looked very, very what everybody refers to as woo.
Yeah, and my scream that I got, dude, it didn't even move his lips. It just opened and it just like you turned on a speaker system and you had a loud stereo with the loudspeakers, and boom, boom, boom. But we're running out of time, and before we let you go, I gotta thank Long Island Mike, Anella, Derek, Wendy. Awesome super chats. I love you guys. Thank you so much for all that. Thanks for coming on in. Once again, Mike, where can we find you? And of course, a few people have already subscribed to Red Creek Mafia. Go through that one more time. Let everybody know where we can find you.
Certainly. You can find me Red Creek Mafia 777 YouTube. That is my page. Via Twitter, it is the same thing. Red Creek Mafia 17. Mike Bleuler on Facebook.
And Krista, what do you got going on tonight, girl?
Tonight we have Chatan Noir. She's part of NADP. And tomorrow night we have Barton and Letitia Nunley and a couple of other friends, and we're talking about this past weekend's trip at the LBL.
Yes, and you guys, I had Chris yesterday. I had a great show last night, or when was it? Tuesday. Mm-hmm. We had Ken Gerhardt on last night. That was a good show if anyone hasn't seen it. So Ken only can give me an hour, big celebrity type that he is. But that was cool. Thank you, Ken, if you're listening. So Brandy came on, and everybody, if you watch the show, they kept me like in suspense. They kept giving me little hints about everything they've seen, but they couldn't tell me nothing. They told me a little bit off, behind the scenes. Yeah. But you guys, Thursday as well, you guys, but Friday, their LBL experience was fascinating. And go check them out. Subscribe to the Blondes and Blues Paranormal Podcast. Subscribe to Red Creek Mafia, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, Texas Front Porch, and Jason McLean, by the way. His new channel, he's starting a new channel called Jason McLean Questions Everything, which is going to be a little different than what we do on Wednesdays. So looking forward to that. I love each and every single one of you for the super chats and for coming in and watching later. You all rock. And with that being said, I got to do some work. Chris has got to take off. And Mike, man, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Bob.
No problem.
All right. Until next time, BMR, we're out.
Bye-bye.